Okay guys, I figured I'd show you where I was so far with the Supercharger. The teardown's done, obviously. I've actually been working on this for a couple days, and this is as far as I've gotten. I got the Supercharger on. I got the pulley on the bottom on the crankshaft. I got that on down here. I got the tensioner on. And I got the bypass valve on and the intake manifold. And it hasn't been too hard, to be honest. The hardest thing so far, I think, was these silicone elbows. Well, that's an elbow. And that one up there is just a coupler, reducing coupler. Just getting that to line up correctly, especially this one. But it's on. It looks a tiny bit warped. I don't know if maybe with some heat, with it running, you know, for a while, maybe the heat will warp it in a certain shape, or if it's going to stay like that. But there's a bracket here that comes on this elbow here. I don't know if you can see it. It mounts right there on the Supercharger. So it has to be a specific direction. So I put that on. I tried it several different ways. I tried to just put that on first and then put the elbows on, the silicone pieces on. That didn't work. So I took it off and I put the silicone pieces on first and then try to put it on afterwards. And I just had to keep repositioning over and over and over before I finally got to work. But it's on. I'm on to the next step. In the directions too, it's funny. They're very thorough. They do tend to kind of repeat themselves a couple times. I'm not sure why they do that, but like you'll see a picture from that doesn't necessarily correspond with the part that you're installing at that time. It's from something you put on earlier. But anyways, they completely forgot to even tell you to put the tensioner on, which isn't a big deal because it's easy to get at right there. But other than that, the instructions have been great. The pictures are good. If you download them on their website, they're very high quality. You can zoom right in on them, and they take 2 or 3 pictures for you for each step of the install. One is kind of zoomed out, and the other 2 are zoomed farther in, so you can see a little closer up what you're doing. This was kind of a pain in the butt too. That elbow. That 90 right there, squeezing that inside was not easy to get to, and you can see that's kind of warped too. But I mean, there's not a lot of room to wrap this thing around the motor, so I'm sure they had to do what they had to do. But let's see what else. I unplugged some stuff. You know, the wiring harness has to be moved a little bit to reach the sensor plug there. I'm not sure. I'm not going to leave it like that. I just have it like that temporarily to take the tension off of it. I kind of skipped through. I was going to do a more detailed install video, but to be honest, I've been kind of lazy. It takes a lot of time to videotape and then install a part and explain, you know, exactly how you put each part on. And the reason I didn't really do that is because the instructions are so detailed. So I think anybody that buys this kit, that they won't have an issue installing. At least so far, from what I've done so far, it's been relatively easy. So I'll keep chipping away here. I'll put you on time lapse, and the next thing I have to do is a couple of the vacuum lines. So I'm going to start that. And Alright guys, I figured I'd show you this. This is a little more complicated. So I'm hooking up these vacuum lines, and you have to pull this gray line out of this plug area right here, this fitting. You can see that. Mine was actually caked with mud. I probably should have cleaned this a little bit better before I started working on it. So I actually had to scrape that and vacuum it out, but it's buried underneath there. It's on the driver's side of your throttle body. So that's where you tap in, and you put this T on, and so that line was here, the gray line with the line teed into here. You cut a little piece for to reattach to that port, and then this is going to go over your solenoid. So that's where your solenoid mounts. Okay, I think this is a good stopping point. I just finished the plumbing for the vacuum lines. Kind of. I don't have them all the way on the fittings. As you can see, they give you such a tiny hose for these big fittings. Most of them are seated all the way, but there's a couple, this one and the one over on the bypass valve. It just seems like they should give you slightly bigger. Oh no, I got that one just about on. They were a pain in the butt to get on, but I did it. It seemed like heating it up with a heat gun seemed to help a little bit, except it also made it a little bit mushy, so it didn't want to push on there very well. So anyways, what I get done, I got the intake on, the filter. They recommended the secondary filter there too, the pre-filter. Which makes sense because the stock YXZ comes with a primary filter and a secondary filter, so now I won't have that. So now it's just the this filter here. So I got that done. I got the I got it connected to the 90 down there. What else did I do? I plugged these off. I got all the vacuum hoses hooked up. I got the solenoid on. Tomorrow I'm going to put on the what they call a bypass. What is it? Let me see. Yeah, so tomorrow I'll put on what they call the boost recirculation hose, and that's just a hose that runs from the top of the right here, from that port there to the bypass valve. I'm actually waiting. They didn't include, there was a gasket that was supposed to come, an O-ring that was supposed to come inside the bypass valve, and that wasn't included. There's quite a few things, to be honest, that they did not include in the kit that should have been there. I actually had to scavenge through some of my own hardware to find bolts and things to fit, because they just weren't included in the kit. They did send me a couple of replacement parts. It took just 2 or 3 days for them to get here, but then I found out later on there's a couple other pieces that were missing, like that O-ring there and just a couple bolts. Nothing huge. The main components were here. So let's see, after I do that, the recirculation hose, and then it's time for the belt, for the pulley belt to the supercharger itself. Then I have to put on a couple shields. Keep the dirt and rocks and everything away from the belt. And then it's time to just start adding fluid. So I have to put oil. The oil is already in the supercharger, but I need to put oil back in the machine. Then I have to start snapping stuff back together, the bed, and then obviously the radiator eventually. So I thought I might be a little bit closer to being done by now, but it's taking a little bit longer than I expected. No big deal. I'll just keep plugging away a little at a time. I'm in no hurry. I live in Western New York, so it stays nice and cold and snowy and muddy and stuff. So, I mean, it's a lot of fun too, but at the same time, it's not comfortable to ride in. And with the supercharger, that's one thing that I'm probably going to regret a little bit, is the fact that I have to kind of stay out of the deeper mud. And even when it rains, you know, it's gonna, there's a chance the belt can slip, you know, so it's not gonna run perfect. But okay, so like I said, that's it for tonight.